I'm sitting in my car outside the apartment I used to call home, mascara running down my face, and I can't believe how everything fell apart in just 20 minutes. My husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband, just threw away our marriage over a phone conversation he wasn't even supposed to hear. Let me back up. I'm Sarah, 28, and I married Ryan 6 months ago. Everyone thinks he's this perfect guy because he pays the bills and bought me a car. What they don't see is how he holds it over my head every single day. The conversation that ruined everything happened last Tuesday. My best friend Jessica was crying about her boyfriend pressuring her to move in together when she wasn't ready. She kept saying she felt trapped, that she didn't know if he was the one. But everyone expected her to take the next step. I was trying to be supportive. I told her, "Sweetie, remember, it's your choice. Don't settle for just anyone." Then, and this is where Ryan conveniently stops listening to context, I said something about making mistakes and ending up somewhere you didn't plan. I was talking about rushing into things, about not taking time to really know yourself before making huge life decisions. Jessica was spiraling, going on about how her boyfriend was nice enough, but she kept wondering if there was someone better out there, someone more exciting, more ambitious. She mentioned this guy from her gym who'd been flirting with her, how he drove a Porsche and owned 3 businesses. "That's the thing," I told her, trying to be the voice of reason. "Ryan was my very last resort, and now look where it made me end up." I was trying to tell her that sometimes settling for stability isn't the worst thing, that chasing after the flashy guys doesn't always work out. But Ryan heard what he wanted to hear. He's always been insecure, always questioning if I really loved him. The truth is, I did love him. I loved how stable he was, how he had his life together. But lately, that stability felt more like control. He'd question every purchase I made, even though he insisted on paying for everything. "Why do you need another dress when I just bought you 3 last month? Your car is only 2 years old. Why are you looking at newer models?" It was exhausting defending every little want or need. Just last month, I wanted to go to Miami with my girlfriends for a bachelorette party. You would have thought I asked to go to Mars. "Why do you need to go to Miami? What's wrong with celebrating here? Who's going to be there? Any guys?" The interrogation went on for days until I finally just told the girls I couldn't make it. They went without me, posting pictures of their suite at the Fontainebleau while I sat home watching Netflix with Ryan. The prenup should have been my first red flag. What kind of man plans for divorce before the wedding even happens? But I signed it because I loved him and wanted to prove I wasn't after his money. His lawyer made sure I understood every clause, how I'd walk away with nothing if the marriage ended, how even gifts would remain his property if he could prove he paid for them. "It's just smart business," Ryan had said, not meeting my eyes. "You understand, right, baby?" I understood perfectly. I understood that he saw me as a potential threat, not a life partner. After he overheard that call, he acted strange for days. He'd barely look at me over dinner, gave one-word answers to my questions. I kept asking what was wrong, but he'd just say nothing in that passive-aggressive way that meant everything was wrong. Then I saw our story on Reddit. Yes, he was stupid enough to post it somewhere he knew I'd see it. The comments were brutal. Hundreds of strangers calling me a gold digger, saying I deserved to be alone, praising him for standing up to me. Some psycho even found my Instagram and started messaging me, calling me names I won't repeat. The post was so dramatically written, too, like he was some tragic hero in a romance novel. He conveniently left out all the times he'd accused me of flirting with his friends, or how he'd check my phone when he thought I was asleep, or how he made me quit my job at the marketing firm because he wanted to take care of me, but really just wanted me dependent on him. When he confronted me that morning, I knew something was off. He had this weird energy, like he was excited about something. He made breakfast, my favorite blueberry pancakes, and suggested we talk. I should have known then. Ryan never cooked breakfast. I panicked when he brought up the phone call. I tried to explain, but he'd already made up his mind. He sat there with this cold, satisfied look while I sobbed and begged him to listen. He wanted me to beg, He wanted to see me broken. I was joking, I kept saying. Jessica was upset. I was just trying to make her feel better about her situation. But he wouldn't hear it. He had this little speech prepared about how he couldn't be with someone who didn't love him the way he loved me. Like he was reading from a script he'd practiced in the mirror. The crying wasn't working, so I tried logic. Ryan, we've been together for 3 years. We just got married. Would I have done that if I didn't love you? You did it for the lifestyle, he said, so matter-of-factly it took my breath away. For the apartment, the car, the credit cards. That's when something in me snapped. 3 years of walking on eggshells, of being grateful for every little thing, of pretending his jealousy was cute instead of suffocating. It all just bubbled up. You know what? Fine. You want to throw away our marriage over some out-of-context conversation? Go ahead, but don't pretend you're some victim here. You've been looking for an excuse to leave since the day we got married. The prenup, keeping everything in your name, monitoring my spending, you never trusted me. And when I finally got angry, when I finally stopped crying and told him what I really thought about his controlling behavior, his jealousy, his need to throw money in my face, suddenly I'm the hostile one. Suddenly I'm showing my true colors. There she is, he said with this smug smile. There's the real Sarah. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, but not before telling him exactly what I thought. You're the worst relationship I've ever been in. You think I can't find someone again? Do you think you'll ever find someone as good as me? Someone who put up with your paranoid bullshit for 3 years? The door slam was satisfying, but the satisfaction lasted about 5 minutes before the reality hit. I was 28, unemployed, because he wanted me to be a kept woman, and about to be divorced with nothing to show for it. I drove to my parents' house in tears. My mom opened the door, took one look at me, and sighed. What did you do, Sarah? Even my own mother assumed it was my fault. That's the power of being the one who pays the bills. Everyone assumes you're the good guy. I tried explaining everything to my parents, but I could see the doubt in their eyes. My dad, who'd never liked Ryan, suddenly seemed to think maybe the prenup was a smart idea after all. My mom kept asking, "But did you really say he was your last resort?" Mom, I was talking about how stability isn't a bad thing. I was trying to help Jessica. But the damage was done. Ryan had already started his campaign. His mom called my mom, tearfully explaining how her poor son had been used by me. His sister unfriended me on Facebook, but not before posting some passive-aggressive meme about knowing your worth. You know what the ironic part is? I wasn't even talking about him being my last resort in a bad way. I was trying to tell Jessica that I dated all those exciting bad boys in my early 20s. The bartender with the motorcycle, the DJ who was going to be famous, the entrepreneur whose business was always just about to take off. Ryan was stable, reliable, had a real job with benefits. Yes, he was my last resort in terms of giving up on the fantasy and choosing reality. But Ryan heard what confirmed his fears, and that was enough for him. 6 months of marriage thrown away because he eavesdropped on half a conversation and jumped to conclusions. Now I'm moving back with my parents at 28, starting over with nothing because everything was in his name. The car he bought me? He's keeping it since the title's in his name. I found out yesterday he already listed it for sale. The apartment? His. Even the engagement ring, by which most people would consider a gift, has to be returned according to the prenup. His family is already spinning the story. I'm the gold digger who got caught admitting I never loved their precious son. His mom posted on Facebook about how proud she is of him for knowing his worth. My own friends are questioning if I really said those things. Becca, who I've known since middle school, asked me, "But Sarah, did you really mean it when you said he was your last resort?" Even Jessica feels guilty. She keeps apologizing, saying she should have never called me that day. I told her it wasn't her fault, but secretly, I'm a little angry at her too. If she hadn't been crying about her perfect boyfriend not being perfect enough, none of this would have happened. The worst part? A tiny part of me wonders if he orchestrated this whole thing. The prenup, insisting on paying for everything, keeping everything in his name. Was he always planning an exit strategy? Was I just a placeholder until he found an excuse to leave while looking like the victim? I remember our wedding day. His vows were all about how he promised to provide for me and take care of me. Not love, not partnership, just financial support. I should have seen it then. He wasn't marrying a wife. He was acquiring a dependent. I loved my husband. I loved our life together, even with its problems. But he heard one conversation, assumed the worst, and destroyed everything we built. Now he gets to be the hero who stood up to his gold-digger wife, while I'm the villain who settled for him. My friend Ashley from college reached out yesterday. She saw the Reddit post. Apparently it's gone viral in those toxic masculinity forums. They're using our story as an example of why men should never get married without a prenup, why you can't trust women, why we're all gold diggers waiting to reveal our true nature. "Sarah, these comments are insane," she said. "They're acting like you murdered someone. It was just a phone conversation." But that's the thing. It wasn't just a phone conversation to Ryan. It was confirmation of every fear he'd harbored, every insecurity he'd nursed. He'd been waiting for me to prove him right, and he finally got what he wanted. I keep replaying that phone call in my head. If I'd just chosen different words, if I'd been in the bedroom instead of the bathroom, if he hadn't walked by at that exact moment. But maybe this was always going to happen. Maybe you can't build a marriage with someone who's constantly waiting for you to prove you don't really love them. Tomorrow I have to go back and get my things. He texted me, didn't even call, to say he'd have everything ready for pickup between 2 and 4 p.m. He's so gracious, putting them in trash bags for me. How symbolic. 6 months of marriage reduced to garbage bags by the door. My cousin Emma got divorced last year after 10 years of marriage. Her husband cheated with his secretary. So cliché. But you know what? She got the house, alimony, child support. She's dating a pediatrician now and seems happier than ever. Meanwhile, I said some ambiguous words on a private phone call and I'm losing everything. "You should have been smarter," my mom said last night. "You knew about the prenup. You should have watched what you said." But that's the thing. I'd have to watch what I said for the rest of my life. Every phone call, every text, every conversation with friends would be potential evidence in Ryan's case against me. What kind of marriage is that? I know everyone thinks I'm the bad guy here, the ungrateful wife who bit the hand that fed her. But I'm starting to think the real mistake wasn't anything I said on that phone call. It was marrying someone who was so ready to believe the worst of me that he threw away our marriage over a misunderstood conversation. His best friend Jake texted me yesterday. "I'm sorry this happened, but Ryan played me the recording." Recording? He recorded me, in my own home. That's the kind of man I married. One who secretly records his wife's private conversations, waiting for her to slip up. Jessica called again today, still apologizing. I told her not to worry about it. If it wasn't this, it would have been something else. You can't stay married to someone who's constantly looking for proof that you're going to leave them. Eventually, they create the very thing they fear. So yes, I settled. I settled for a man who measured love in dollar signs and thought financial support meant he owned me. I settled for someone who was so insecure that he turned one overheard conversation into the end of our marriage. I settled for less than I deserved. Someone who trusted me, who believed in us, who would have asked me about that conversation instead of posting it on Reddit for strangers to judge. Maybe that's what I really meant when I talked about mistakes and ending up somewhere you didn't expect. Maybe deep down, I knew I'd settled for someone who would never really trust me. And now, sitting in this car with my whole life in trash bags, I finally understand what I should have told Jessica. Don't settle for someone who's waiting for you to prove them right about their worst fears, because eventually they'll find a way to make those fears come true. My phone buzzes. It's a text from a number I don't recognize. Saw your story on Reddit. Your ex-husband sounds controlling and insecure. Coffee sometime? Brian. Great. Now, I'm going to be the subject of creepy DMs from strangers who think I'm some kind of victim looking for rescue. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for making our private life into internet entertainment. I turn off my phone and stare at the apartment building. 6 months ago, I was carried over that threshold in my wedding dress, laughing as Ryan struggled with the key while holding me. Now I'm sitting in my car like a stalker, afraid to go get my own belongings. The security guard walks by and does a double take when he recognizes me. Great. Even the building staff knows about our drama. Ryan probably told them some sob story about his gold digger wife. You know what the real joke is? If I really was a gold digger, I would have been smarter about it. I would have waited until after the probationary period in the prenup. I would have gotten my name on something, anything. I would have saved money secretly. Instead, I trusted my husband and believed in our marriage. But in Ryan's world, trust is just naivety, love is transaction, and every woman is just waiting to reveal her true, evil nature. He got exactly what he was looking for, proof that he was right all along. I hope it keeps him warm at night, alone in that apartment we were supposed to build a life in together. Tomorrow, I start over. 28, divorced, living with my parents, with nothing but some clothes and trash bags to show for 3 years of my life. But at least I'm free from the constant suspicion, the monitoring, the need to be grateful for every little thing. Maybe I did settle, but not in the way Ryan thinks. I settled for a man who would never see me as anything more than a potential threat. And that's a prison no amount of money can make worthwhile.